Okay, everyone's seated because I know everyone's really excited for our final panel. This is going to be good, I will tell you that. They were already disagreeing off stage, which is what we love. That's what we like to see, right? After all that adrenaline, we're going to close things off with something really, really dynamic. Let's talk about content, guys. So in the world of business events, whether it's on stage, off stage, on your screens, content creators, digital strategists, and social media platforms are all everybody can talk about these days. But how do we, as next generation leaders, deal with this content, deal with consumers, and deal with them as change makers? Our next panel is all ready to go, so I'll invite them on. Please give them a big hand. It's going to be moderated by none other than Ms. Jasmine Ho, who is the VP of Advocacy and Communications at Sacios. And she will be navigating this panel very, very beautifully. And please keep your applause going for Mr. Adrian Ang, co-founder of Hepmil. You may also know him as Xiaoming from SGAG, without the glasses. Johnathan Chua, co-founder of GRVTY. You may also recognize him from the Daily Ketchup, with all their amazing views. And last but certainly not least, a very beautiful Ms Tjin Lee. Please join us on stage, founder of Gusto Collective Southeast Asia. Already shifting furniture, causing havoc. All right, Jess, the stage is all yours. Take it away.
So we are all disruptors, right? We decided that the table all need to go up.
Correct.
Okay, we can take our seats now. When you are short, you have to slowly.
Big situation.
Huh? Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I feel very stressed with two.
Tough crowd, tough crowd.
Yeah. You all can try.
Okay, I'm sorry I didn't get the wardrobe memo here.
Yeah, some.
Yeah, all good, all good.
All good, it's fine. Well, I think we are all here, and this is the last session, and we're going to talk about social, right? Before I get you guys to introduce yourself, I think everyone here is actually aware of social media platforms as being the content marketing strategy. However, I think if one's looking to expand our content marketing strategy and take advantage of the latest trend in distributing content, I think it's time that our industry look at podcasts.
Agree.
Why? Yeah, why? Because
Podcast only?
Just
he agreed
podcast.
'cause
Ignore
he
the
is
rest in
running.
fact.
But that's because the podcast market globally actually has been experiencing significant expansion and driven because of the smartphone usage and the growing demand for on-demand audio and video content. According to iHeart Podcast, shared in 2024, it has increased interest of podcasts by 15% in Southeast Asia. So, and particularly, people are interested in news and politics that constitute the largest genre segment by revenue. And also, listeners are actually now seeking intellectual engagement and current affairs updates. So in this case, where is our events industry? Are we using it enough? Are we missing it out? Are we missing out these high opportunity platforms? But today, I'm not the expert of social. I try, but I can't. My daughter even said that my photos are very horrible. But I have 3 social media experts here with deep knowledge, and they have really leveraged on their social media platforms for their businesses and even on their personal brand growth. So I would like them to share a little bit more, but in case they are all very popular already, but then just in case some of us do not know who they are, maybe we just go down the role, who you are, what does your company do? I think we know all of you individually, but maybe share a little bit more about your company and which social platform do you actually spend your time most? Maybe we just go down with Adrian.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Adrian, or Xiaoming when I wear my shades, when I tell jokes and play pranks on my wife. So I'm actually the co-founder of Hepmil Media. Some of you guys might be a little bit more familiar with SGAG, a comedy platform where we kind of create, entertaining content to entertain people. We have, content brands all across Southeast Asia, and also a creator network. Ever since, TikTok blew up, we decided to start a creator network to really help empower creators. So that is a large part of what we are focusing on right now. So yeah, I mean, in terms of social media, I use things like TikTok, Instagram. So I mean, these are really the 2 key platforms I'm kind of on right now. So yeah, this is a brief introduction of,
By the
me
way,
and what
his
I do.
company spelled backwards, right, is?
Oh yeah, Hepmil, which is my company, is Limpe spelled backwards. Yeah, so we thought, hey, what better way to name a parent company than to, call it Limpe, but Accra blocked it, so I flip it backwards. Sounds pretty professional.
Oh, you all tried Limpe first, huh?
Yeah, but I got rejected.
It rejected because someone else used it?
No, I think they blocked it. Probably some other people.
I mean,
have
as they
thought of
should lah. I mean, as their job, I will block it. Hi everyone, I'm John. I am the founder of GRVTY Media. We are a creative agency. We also have built multiple niche media brands over the years. Brands like Vulcan Post, the Daily Ketchup, MOSG, John Cross, Are You OK, which is a Chinese show. I don't really use TikTok. I really should, but I exist mostly on YouTube and Instagram.
And Jin?
I'm Jin. I'm the founder of what was Mercury, known to many of you as Mercury, and today it's called Gusto Collective Southeast Asia. So post-COVID, I exit to a Hong Kong-based tech company, and my platform is actually Instagram. So it kind of came around really organically because Mercury actually does social media, PR, and events. So I think that it really is organic, integrated 360, and I really wanted to understand what Instagram was about because if we're going to be making referrals and recommendations to clients, I really wanted to master and understand how to use that platform. So I really just started sharing there, and I actually was really known when I first started because I had a really fat baby.
But he's so
there.
cute.
He's
so cute.
now 12 years old, so
Still cute.
that tells you how old my account is.
Great. So back to podcast, and John, just now you were like, yes, podcast, right? What trends do you observe happening now in the podcast industry, and how do you see the Daily Ketchup as a new way of consuming news?
Maybe I take the second question first.
Okay.
I never did see the Daily Ketchup as news. In fact, even though that's how it started, right? The Daily Ketchup started as a COVID coping mechanism for a company that has a lot of brands that require us to go out, talk to people, interview people, and we couldn't. And so the Daily Ketchup was born out of that because a lot of the things we see on the news are about how many people got sick, how many people are dying and hospitalized, how many ICU beds we have left, which was extremely grim. And so we wanted to take the information that was important for us to know, like the new safety measurements that were changing every 3 minutes, and then we package it with something funny that's going on or heartwarming events around Singapore, the local heroes and whatnot. And that's how we started. Regarding trends on podcasts, it's hard to say. I think right now where we're at is we are at the Blue Sea area. Everyone's kind of feeling out what is their podcast flavor. I think we are looking at a new podcast spawned in Singapore on average every 4 days. And that's something that we really attempted to count. And I think where it will go towards is not a major podcast that captures all. There might be a couple of players that do that. But I think there will be a creation of niche communities. Because I think in the past where we look at short form content, where everyone is trying to optimize for their 10-second retention so that they count that view and then boost their algorithm. I think where we see podcasts integrating in part of our lives is that people may not even be actively listening, and that's okay. They could be ironing and you are just playing in the background. They could be doing food delivery and you are just in their ears. And they're not really listening to you, they're catching little jokes and they're laughing and chuckling to themselves along the way. And I feel like that presents a very interesting opportunity for very micro communities that otherwise may not be taken in your media pitches. Like Straits Times may not take it, the Daily Ketchup may not take it, but there will then be a podcast that will take it because it's exactly what their consumers are looking at.
Yeah, I think, and that's why I think, and I see this a lot in actually the lifestyle events. And obviously we have our veteran and PR expert here, Jin. You're very influential, including on social media. How do you leverage on social media, whether be it podcasts or for your events, and how do you think it has worked well for your clients in the lifestyle sector?
Well, I really think it's an entire ecosystem. You can't really separate it. Like the content creators, the influencers, the KOLs that we use, we're not only an agency to them, we're also their clients. So the way we work, we represent brands. We work with like Cartier, Louis Vuitton, we did a recent pop-up. We work with a lot of like Coach, Burberry, Longchamp, Estée Lauder Group, L'Oreal Group. So if you think about the brands that we represent as Mercury, PR, social, we are also their client. So I think one way to really sort of maximize that relationship is to build, I think, that kind of community with the creators that goes beyond like a client relationship. So if, for example, you were a client and you wanted us to get people that you wouldn't be able to get ordinarily, for example, thought leaders. So thought leaders like doctors, entrepreneurs, they may not come to your event just to post because you invited an entrepreneur to come, but that's where we leverage off the relationships we already have, the fact that community is actually the key to, I think, sustaining like real connectivity. So if you want brand love and you want authenticity, then it's not always about working with just content creators. They, of course, are very impactful, but I think you need to pair the content creators with real thought leaders as well. Like these gentlemen here, they're thought leaders as well, right? Each in their own space, right? They put forward their thoughts, people listen. It's much more impactful than hiring, I think, somebody who's always just doing promotions and ads, because consumers are really, really savvy, especially Gen Z. They know when they're being sold things that they're just being paid to sell. So, for example, I think during COVID, we ran a campaign with 100 women for L'Oreal. And getting 100 women to do a campaign is not an easy feat. But more than that, we actually had a breakdown of only 20% were actually celebrities and influencers. The other 80% were doctors, skin doctors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs, sportswomen, like people, music, entertainment. So we really collected 100 women from all walks. I mean, and that's what a really impactful campaign is about. So it cannot just be about, I think, influencers anymore.
Yeah. So what I also learned more about the social media is about the following and creating community to follow content that is being built, that is authentic. But I think, Adrian, you've seen this when you started SGAG then. You have foresee the rise of social media.
No, I didn't.
You just did the under the HDB vlog thing. But I think you've seen that, but you started SGAG after graduating from university. What was the opportunity you saw then, and how do you foresee this social media company going forward? What's next in this industry that you are in, whether it's a podcast or is it social media?
Well, this is asking the history of my company plus forecast for the next 10 years.
You damn lucky.
You got the timer is there.
To be honest, I think when I first started this whole content creation journey with SGAG, it was purely out of like just fun. I just wanted to create something fun. You know, I thought I was funny, but back in school, nobody gives a toot about what the kind of jokes that I created. So I found an outlet on social media, and I think meme started becoming a thing, 12, 15 years ago. And I thought, hey, why not start like a Singaporean version? Honestly, didn't think too much about where it will go, how big it will be, or what kind of money or business can I build out of it. It was purely out of like just pure passion and fun. But I think along the way is where I think opportunities started popping up, right? Facebook starting to focus a little bit more on like video content, and then more different platforms started popping up. I think the nature of social media is that it evolves and changes every couple of years, right? I think in the early days, there was things like Twitter, Snapchat, right? Facebook, YouTube, before it started pivoting to Instagram, TikTok, or even like Clubhouse, during COVID. So I think along the way is where, we kind of take a little bit of the passion that we have for storytelling and just kind of adapt it to different platforms, different audience. And I think that is how we have managed to kind of grow along the way. Because, what worked for us, for the past 3 to 6 months might not necessarily work for the next 3 to 6 months, because, the space really changes like so fast. So honestly, if you ask me what's going to happen, in the next 5 to 10 years, if I can tell you an actual plan, I'll probably be lying, because I don't know what will happen to, to be honest, TikTok tomorrow, right? Because, even with the whole US thing where they're going to ban TikTok, for all you know, if they really make it happen, it might change the game. A new platform might come about, Xiaohongshu might come about, it might grow really strong in prominence, and then it changes the whole storytelling methods. So I think this is where, as a company, as a content creator, or even as companies, we have to really watch the space, because you don't really know what will actually get traction, right? And I think it's all about experimenting, it's all about trying and then pivoting fast. So I think this is a little bit of, I would say, the journey that we have been on from SGAG and Hepmil point of view.
Yeah, and I think linking back to our MICE industry, you okay?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know the cough is also so loud.
But I think linking back to our events industry, I do see your point about like trying to evolve, change, and we being in the business events, we can really start to learn more from the social media side, or even from the lifestyle event side of point of view. Whether is it at pre-event promotion by building anticipation, creating contents to build that anticipation leading up to the conference itself. And then even on-site, maybe we could even do like behind-the-scenes stuff that can be featured. And then at post-event, I think we want to recap and reflect. And also take all the learnings from here, using our passion for the industry and looking for opportunities that is out there using the different social media platform and not only choosing one of it. So I'd like to move on to discuss about brand alignment because you are influencers and you also work with brand. We have seen many event organizers here who manage clients, brands, or are even looking for opportunities of sponsorship, and we are all, whether it's a PCO here or PEO or whether an event organizer. So actually to Tjin, for the luxury events that you organize, I'm sure to pick the right celebrity to be there or the content creator to grace the event is important. How do you pick the right talent for your event and have them positioned appropriately?
I think it's really challenging for luxury and social media, primarily because most of the consumers are not concentrated into Instagram or Facebook. As you know, it's quite organic. So if you're thinking about selling like a $10,000 luxury handbag, how many influencers do you know that can sell a $10,000 luxury handbag? So if you were, say, Cartier, right, it's not about seeding young girls who wouldn't be able to afford a $10,000 necklace or pair of jewelry. It's not just about giving it to them and having them take photos. You wouldn't convert because the audience is probably predominantly sort of like 14 to 25. And what Cartier really needs to be looking at is sort of 35 to 50. They need to look at Gen X. But influencers really strong in serving like Gen Z and millennials. So then there's a real gap, I think, in where luxury needs to be. So for example, what we did with Cartier last year when we launched their 100th anniversary of Trinity, we worked with real people. I think like real content creators. So for example, the founder of She Loves Tech, like Leanne Robers, so she was part of it. She shared about her Trinity ring. I would be like, like investors, people in like finance, just people from all walks. And there, of course, were mixed with people who also had like a wide reach. So you did have the celebrities, you did have the luxury creators, but you also had real people in the mix. And I think that that's actually really essential moving forward for luxury, to be able to work with people who are actually able to represent their brand. And that is like, if you didn't give me an LV handbag, could I still afford to buy one? Because if I can't afford to buy one, then you shouldn't be advertising with me. So I think that with luxury, it's really sort of in finding that authenticity. It's challenging because Singapore in particular is a really small market. And I think a lot of luxury brands are still very stuck in the idea that it has to be a celebrity because they're used to working overseas with like Zendaya or Beyonce. But when you come to Singapore and they go, who's the Beyonce? And I'm like,
John.
different. It's kind of like, we don't have Beyonce in Singapore. It's not quite like that. So what we do is we do bring in a lot of celebrities from Thailand, from Korea. We do bring in regional celebrities because they do have that pulling power. So the clients call them the screaming fan events, right? We need screaming fans, we need screaming fans. So how you do get the screaming fans is you have to work with regional celebrities that have that kind of following, people with 10 million followers, 20 million followers on Instagram. And then when they come, they really pack the mall. So we did that here, I think, in MBS with a Chinese actor. That was 5,000 crowd strong. It becomes just crowd control at that point. So it's really about getting the right people in, and if you don't always get the right people locally, the locals will support the on-ground campaign for sure. I'm all about working with local talent. I think that's super important. But I think you complement that as well with regional superstars, then you get a really, really nice, I think, cohesive sort of like impact for your brand.
Yeah, I think being authentic was something that we're going to discuss later. But then I would like to, because Adrian and John, you guys are managers of talents within your organization, your companies, and also influencers yourself. So from the other point of view, right, how do you decide which brands are suitable for your talents and for yourself? Maybe we go this way, Adrian and then John.
I think for us, I feel like the creator or influencer landscape has changed quite a bit. I think, when we started this whole journey on social media, there were a lot of, I would say, creators or even content brands like ourselves creating very generic content, just targeting as many people as possible. And I think with the rise of TikTok, the rise of more like creators, and maybe the whole maturity of the whole social media landscape, and also maturity of audiences when it comes to consumption of media, they want to kind of get into their communities. I think the two other panelists spoke briefly about this, that we see creators creating more and more content that is relatable to them and their lives, not just generically targeting like as many people as possible. So I feel like that has helped us in being able to kind of pick out what exactly is the right brands for this creator to work with. Because at the end of the day, I think what creators and all brands want or what agency want is to create impactful campaigns. It's not just like, I take money and then that's it. Right? Because content exists on the creator's profile, and I think it's the creator's interest to also want to create stuff that actually travels, even though it is paid.
Yeah.
So I feel like this shift of how creators have been moving into more niche and really focusing on building communities have helped, I'll say, agencies like ourselves be able to recommend who are the right brands that you should work with, and even recommend brands themselves, like who are the creators that you should work with. Don't just go for a 10 million followers, because that 10 million followers might just be a very international crowd, right? It might be focusing on a different life stage that might not necessarily fit what your product is trying to reach. So if you can go for quality more than quantity, if you have quality and quantity both, then I think that's great. But that's often not the case. So I feel like this shift has helped us being able to decide, who, for creators, which brand should you work with, and vice versa.
I agree.
Okay, I got
You're
one.
supposed to not agree.
Both of them just now decided while we were chatting that whatever he say, he'll just disagree. Then whatever.
That's right. No, I disagree. In fact, I'm not a big fan of learning, how a recently popularized phrase of learning how to say no, which I believe has its merits, obviously, to protect your headspace. But I also am a firm believer of yes, but. Meaning, I'll say yes, but what is the condition that I'll leave behind? And I think for the last 8 years of GRVTY Media's history, we've been kind of going or attempting to build our way into where our clients and our audience see us. Of course, there were many times when we built MOSG and there were no documentaries yet, or Real Talk, when there were no talk shows yet, or the Daily Ketchup. Those were times where we took a risk. But for the most part, we kind of looked at if the client picked us to work with, even though we feel like it's a bad fit, we are asking ourselves, why did they pick us? And is there anything within our brand that we could start signaling on thinking whether we want to double down in this direction? Because at the end of the day, we are no diva in that this is a business. The only reason I say no is that if it alienates my viewers, that hinders my ability to make the next sale. Because at the end of the day, I'm accountable to my people's growth, and I need money to do that, right? And so it's a matter of how can we make it fit? And yes, meaning if there is 2 to 3 kind of clients within the industry that came in where at first thought we're thinking not very suitable, we will start thinking how can we actually be suitable, or if not, we spawn a new brand. And that's why in 8 years of existence, I think for every one brand of mine that you might know, there were actually 4 more brands that we've created, spawned, and then it died, where we will attempt to build in those directions like vines and roots. Right. Yeah, which I think in the same way, in how we built the company as well, is that when we decided to start our creative agency, which was also a byproduct of our clients say, hey, just pitch lah. And we're like, we're not a creative agency, but then they say, just try lah. And then we pitched, we won, and then we had to start hiring people to build the agency. One of the starting point of launching multiple brands in different verticals is that we started getting clients in those verticals. And so how can a young agency show you that this can be done? Because any agency can be the agency for Coca-Cola. Everybody already know who is Coca-Cola. DBS themselves have 30 agencies, 50 agencies. But how many agencies can say, I've built something from scratch that half the country knows? And that's how we start.
Right.
That's our starting point for many of the brands that we've built. We show you that this is what we've done. If you are looking to replicate our success, we will create a version for you. And then now there's implied trust, as opposed to you tell me what to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Just now you mentioned about learning to say no, and I think there was the panel before also talked about like learning to say no if it doesn't fit your brand. So I've got a very serious question to ask you.
Me, specifically?
Yeah.
Goddamn.
Recently, the Daily Ketchup did a whole series of the elections.
Yes.
So we're talking about content and then picking the people to be on your podcast. This is a personal question because I've been following.
Okay.
I don't really read news so I just watch Daily Ketchup.
I'm so honored, thank you.
You're welcome. How did you pick the ministers to come to your podcast? And did you select them or did they come to you? And one very important question, why the last 2 ministers before cooling off?
Okay, so 3 questions, right?
Yeah, just answer.
Which I have terrible memory, okay, so I'm gonna forget one of it later. So in the times that we get to pick, that was before our election stream. Those were the times where, of course, we decide based on what our audience is looking for, what are the common complaints. So we built our own listening tool. The listening tool is not what other creators are creating or what other media is talking about. Our listening tool is what Singaporeans are grumbling about. So then we try and find answers to what you grumble at, right? But during the election, we were very clear not to decide. We would tell them, you sure this is who you want, but we'll take that. Because we know at the end of the day, we are not here to swing elections, neither are we influential enough, but we're here to provide that platform that we perceive mainstream media is not providing. And so we dedicated certain slots, and so you rightly pointed out, we gave the incumbent the first and the last slot. The last slot because, the first and last slot because they have a big team, to be very honest. So when it's announced, right, everybody will straight away plan their rallies and they walk the ground and stuff like that. But the incumbent have super a lot of MPs lah. So they are able to guarantee talent within the first and last day. Yeah, so it's almost logistical to that nature. But to your point, if you dig a little bit deeper, what's interesting also is that the incumbents were the only ones that brought heavyweights. That they perceived their strategy a little bit differently to how the opposition parties did it.
Okay.
In that the opposition parties thought that, okay, social media is for young people, so we're going to send our young people. Whereas the incumbents perceive that podcasts will be an important battleground. We're going to send our most eloquent people.
So you picked them, you already select, or they came to you, then you did your series?
No lah, we don't have that much sway lah. I don't know who you think we are. we try to kind of give them the slot,
Okay,
and
so
then
you
we say
reached
who
out
you
to-
want to send.
Ah.
So way early, like even before when G is happening, when we already told them we intend to do this. Would you all be keen? And so most of them is like, yeah lah, see how lah, should be okay. And we don't really know. Until it was announced. It was announced, I think, on like a Wednesday. On Wednesday, we started inviting all the guest host podcasters from all the major podcasts in Singapore and all the politicians on Wednesday. So only on Sunday, before our first stream, did we confirm our lineup.
Right.
Yeah, so it was a mad rush and a lot of praying.
A lot of praying.
A lot of praying.
Okay, just now Tjin mentioned about like content being authentic, and I think I wanted to discuss this, and so based on the research that I found that research reports do show that people demand for authentic, personalized, and exactly niche content. Niche, particularly yesterday's at AMS, one of them mentioned that content needs to be relevant and current. So we're talking about authenticity, right? So you all say you can ask any questions, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Sean.
Why got champion?
Adrian,
Oh.
you were I was so scared.
Why are you like this?
You were famously known as Xiao Ming, and I think everybody know you as Xiao Ming with the iconic shades. Sometime in mid-2024, and because I follow all of you, so I can recall and count, right? Xiao Ming took off his shades, and Adrian was revealed.
Yes.
Okay. Did you do that to show your followers who the real and authentic Adrian is, or what was the thought process behind it? Because Xiao Ming was such a strong brand of SGAG.
No lah, I took it out because usually for such forum, I wear my shades, I can't see anything, you know?
Ah, okay.
Yeah. It's too dark already.
Also midlife
been-
crisis lah.
Yeah. I mean, jokes aside, I think with regards to my own personal journey, I mean, I started SGAG and then this Xiao Ming character was developed, and then eventually I started this social media account as an extension of SGAG to kind of build on this character. But I think over the years, actually after I started my family, I used my social media to showcase a little bit more about my own personal life as well. And after a while, I realized that, hey, you know, why am I talking about my personal life, but I'm in this like character? It feels a little bit weird. So that was when I kind of thought about it for a while before I was like, okay, you know what? Let me think of a good time, right, in the right place to kind of remove this shade so that people can, you know, still enjoy Xiao Ming, but also understand that, hey, there's an Adrian that's actually behind it. And I think like what you said, it is also to really more authentically connect with my audience. Like, because after a while, people will be also like, hey, why are you wearing shades when you're with your kid, when you're at home? Right? I mean, for a while, it was a joke, it was funny, but after a while, people were also like, hey,
Your shades prove the Superman effect to me. It's like when we do dinners or we double date, right? And when he take out the shades, just nobody says hi to him. And just like when we leave, let's say we walk into our car, then he will wear his shades for practical purpose. Then he will get mobbed. I'm like, oh my gosh, that Clark Kent Lil Spiral thing, which we laugh at, is totally real.
The truth is that I'm losing popularity, so I need a gimmick. I'll take out my shades. Next thing you know, I take out my shirt also. Just kidding.
No,
No.
Still a business forum.
Yeah, but authenticity, I feel like
The moderator had to moderate your ass.
Don't take off clothes, can take off shades.
No. Maybe next one. If I get invited.
Next time, at the beach, please. Sentosa, can you please host him so that he can take off his shirt? But then, you talk about like your dad jokes and all, and I do see sometimes you're creating them with ministers or CEOs on your platform. How do you manage that? Like,
How do I manage that?
you will feel suddenly nobody laughed, then how?
Oh, no, it's okay. I've realized that over the years, right, when it comes to my humor, why people find it funny is not because of the joke. It's because of the reaction from the people around. So the fact that nobody laughs and I laugh is the part that makes it funny for people.
You want
so
to try
it's,
one?
Nah.
Hey bro, show us, eh?
I really see
It's okay. I would love to be invited back next year. So I'll just kind of, if you want to find out more about my jokes, check out adrian.xiaoming. Yeah, you'll find it over there.
Yeah.
Go sales at hepmil.com lah.
So I think we want to move on. So how come my
Debated
clock
too far
suddenly, my clock suddenly like decreased so fast? But okay, let's quickly move on, right? I think from brand perspective, and I think from Tjin, I'd like to understand is how do you present your content as Tjin yourself? You do talk about being women empowered, women a girl boss, also a mother. How do you present your content to be real and authentic? And then I'll go to John.
Well, I started creating content long before we had any understanding of how social media actually works, when Instagram was brand new, sort of like, 13, 14 years ago. And I love that I started creating completely, well, you all start anonymous, right? Nobody knows you, so you post whatever you want, and you figure out along the way what works, what doesn't work, what people enjoy and what they don't. As my kids got older, I started to value their privacy a lot. I think that children shouldn't be on social media unless they want to be past a certain age. So I respect my kids, I think. So I started to take them more offline. But I do recognize that a lot of my early followers came about because of my son. So they grew with me. They've been following me. So he celebrated his 12th birthday recently.
Wow.
And I got so many people writing to me to say, we've been following you since he was a baby.
Same.
My sisters, by the way, they're super huge fans.
Yeah, so they still call him Baby Boo Boo.
Oh yes, I remember Boo Boo.
He was Baby Boo Boo, but he's asked everyone else to call him Tyler now. We recently released, I think, one of his, just mommy-son interview. I asked his permission if I could post. He said yes. That gets like 550,000 views, right? just because he does, so it's very, to them it feels very real because they don't see him a lot anymore. And when he's on, it's what we want to show together. But beyond motherhood, so it started out as one thing. I realized that a lot of my followers are actually like women, but they're also like working, or they're C-suite, or they're business, I think owners or entrepreneurs. Like I understand who I'm talking to. And I think that you can't be everything to everyone. So certain creators are fashion creators. And if you notice the top fashion creators, especially if they're luxury, they don't show their children. Sad to say, children and high fashion don't really mix, and advertisers don't really want to see your baby in, in that persona that you are. So that has to be separated. So motherhood does shift things. You're no longer really seen as very high-end fashion if you start showing a lot of your baby. That's just how it is. So there are the mommy creators, there's the fashion creators, there are the beauty creators, there are the travel creators. So, and then I guess there are people like us that are just personalities, where you can just share what you like, what you do, how you live, and people will respond because they like you for you. But at the same time, I do also have pillars. So if you ever want to have a talk with me about thought leadership or personal branding, I could probably share with you. You have to have pillars, no more than 3. I think it's confusing. So you choose your pillars. So for my pillars, it would be travel. I love travel. It would be motherhood. So a lot of like family content, like raising Gen Alpha. And the third pillar for me would be entrepreneurship, which ties up with women's empowerment. Because you really can't be everything to everyone. And I would reject, I think, people that come to me to want to collaborate for my social media that's separate from, I think, Gusto. So I would just say that doesn't align or that doesn't feel right for us. But if it's something that I feel like aligns with those three pillars, then it's a yes, or something I'm passionate about. For example, financial literacy. You might say, oh, how does that fit? It's not motherhood, or it's not, you know, it's not travel or fashion or whatever else you show. But financial literacy is something I'm very passionate about because it's part of women's empowerment or entrepreneurship. So that's actually how I decide which pillars to show.
Right. Actually, I would just want to just move on, looking at time, because I really wanted to ask this question. And because we often see brands disabling comment function, and it really doesn't come off as being, does it come off as being defensive? And I think linking it back, like, we all are afraid of failures, but we shouldn't be, and bad reviews at certain point. How do you respond to this criticism to show your humility and authenticity? The question here I want to ask to Tjin is, you were the driving force of Singapore Fashion Week, and many of us here would have seen Singapore Fashion Week, which ended at the 11th edition. I'm sure throughout the time you received good and negative feedback, which you then have to channel back your sponsors and stakeholders. I think that many of us here actually reach out to sponsors for our events. Can you share with us how do you manage that point in time?
I feel that with Singapore Fashion Week, it was challenging for us because I've always been passionate about supporting local brands. And for me, it was all about the local stage, putting my local designers on the spotlight. It's why we started a Singapore Fashion Week, or at that time, it was called Audi Fashion Festival, because we had to sell our title sponsorship.
Audi ambassador in the house, guys. Newly appointed.
Oh, congratulations.
His latest post.
Yeah, because well, we had to take a title sponsor, so we lost the title Singapore Fashion Festival, which STB was fine with. They were like, it's okay, monetize it, Audi Fashion Festival Singapore, that's fine. So very often you will always compromise, I think, things like that. Your title sponsorship goes, as you guys well know. So Audi Fashion Festival. But what I realized over the long run was that you really couldn't please audiences no matter what we did. In the sense like, so to make the thing viable and commercial, I had to bring in international designers. When I tried to sell an all-local fashion week, none of the international sponsors wanted to come in. So when we spoke to like brands, like whoever the brands are, it could be MasterCard, Amex, it could be Mercedes-Benz, it could be BMW, it could be anybody, Audi, it could be anyone, they wanted to know who the international designers were. If you gave them local names, they'd be like, oh, call us when you have an international designer. So we were challenged into like sort of the spot. We said, okay, fine, look, let's make it international Asian. So we open and close with international designers, and we'll fill the week with local and Asian content. And that didn't go down very well. We got a lot of flack for why it wasn't a Singaporean, all Singapore show, or why Singapore designers couldn't open and close.
Yep.
And you can't throw your sponsors under the bus and say, oh, actually, they only want to come in if it's an international, a designer. So it became something where we had to just explain that Singapore is an international fashion capital, international Asian, therefore we embrace and we're inclusive, and we have highlight brands to also lift and inspire our designers. And thankfully I'm in PR, so we work out all that quite elegantly. So the Fashion Week didn't take that much flack. I think we managed to balance it, but at the end of the 11 years, I just didn't really see the point of running a Fashion Week that was really about sort of elevating overseas designers when the passion was for local. I feel like this was, I think when we were running and I pulled the plug in 2017, things have changed a lot. Maybe time has changed, and I think social media was in its infancy. I think in 2017, Instagram was still, I think, just fledgling. It wasn't what it was. If I were to do it again, I suppose that there'll be a lot more on-ground support. The designers have their own communities, but I still see that it's going to be very difficult and challenging to get international sponsors to the tune of six-figure sums wanting to be involved if it was an all-local fashion show. So those are the challenges you face. Not all things are always within your control.
Yeah, the time is like clicking down. But I want
we last what?
Yeah, but I actually, there's so many questions, and I think we want to address at least the highest vote here. Wait, someone said, shout out to Johnathan, thank you for your thoughtful sharing.
Oh, love you. My wife, is my wife here?
I think you plotted someone. But
I saw you send to yourself.
Yeah, I did. I was like...
the highest vote here is specifically for Adrian. You all must address here as Adrian, don't call Xiaoming already.
Yeah.
Adrian and Johnathan, how do you make boring content in like MICE and business events interesting on social media? What advice would you give to all of us?
don't work with Daily Ketchup. No, just kidding.
No, no, I agree. No, I have one. I think at the end of the day, if you perceive your event as boring for someone that's going to glance it for free on their phone, the event is probably going to be boring as well, is it not? Because in my very short time understanding events, there are two types. There are one that people actually want to go to. You could potentially sell tickets for. You need to entice them and tell them why they would want to. And then there's some where professionals just need to come, whether it's for the networking session, whether are doctors that are clocking CME points. If you find yourself in the later, then I think no point, right? But I think it's a very good question, because if you are able to create good content for that event, then you know you have a great event. And so I think my challenge to many of the EOs here, right, is that are you able to, and many of you, to my understanding, specialize in a certain industry. If you have a certain industry specialization, are you able to create a content platform that can address that small 500, 1,000, 2,000 people? Because right now, it is still a green field. If you create a podcast or a channel with 1,000, 2,000 followers on that topic, you are locally probably a leader already. And then build on and from that, or partner organizations like us, where we could then work with you to finesse that thought or do all the production and thinking for you, and then you try and first inspire us. Why should we care? Yeah, I think the problem with it is that many people are speaking as though the brand is a person. And I think we've been doing this long enough to know that every brand and every event is powered by people. And when you write copy, and when you write taglines, and when you think of how to communicate, don't think LinkedIn, even if it's a corporate event. Think of the person that wants to go. How will that person talk to their friends about? How will that person excite you? And then just be that person. Don't pretend to be a brand. We all know there's a whole team writing this copy. You all don't have to pretend to be one entire block of AI or robot, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's one of my peeves in event marketing.
Yeah, I always tell my clients, even though it's a B2B conference, but ultimately the person that's sitting on the seat is still a C,
Yeah.
right? What's your take?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. I agree with your agreement.
I mean,
Pick
just
one,
a
2
short-
seconds.
Yeah,
Okay,
short
thanks.
one is, I guess people like to follow the journey. They don't want just to see the end product, right? So I think a lot about storytelling is just showing the journey, whether is it, you know, the good, the bad, the struggles, or setting up an event or whatsoever. People like that. They don't just want to see the finished product. And I think, you know, if you know, in your own like events can showcase that journey in a very, very authentic manner, I think that would make for interesting content. Because I mean, as you guys know in this industry, it's not easy to do up a show like that. And you know, content like that could be interesting or relatable to people in the industry lah.
If I may also just jump in
Yeah.
to share. It's also, I think I would just have 2 words for the industry, and that would be thought leadership. Doesn't matter what you are selling, it doesn't matter what it is. We bring thought leaders into the sort of the equation, and they're sharing like, a month before, 2 months before, and they're sort of promoting your events, and they're sharing about what you can learn, the connections you can make, the network they can grow. Then it actually applies to all industries. So you need to find the right thought leaders to be sort of like promoting your events, and you use their channels, whatever they are big on. It could be LinkedIn, it could be whatever platforms they are in, but use the thought leaders.
So I'll wrap up with rapid question, okay? Ready? Fast one. We'll go down this way,
Okay.
okay?
I cannot explain one. Just,
No explain, just
okay.
A or B only. Audio podcast or video podcast?
Video podcast.
Video podcast.
Video.
To be accommodative or learn to say no?
Be accommodative.
Yes, but.
Oi! Okay.
Yes, say yes,
Okay,
but.
okay.
Yes, and.
Wow.
That's so dangerous. I thought about that, Then I'm like, no, I probably supposed to say but.
Following trends or speaking your opinion?
Opinion.
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 And because we are the last panel, wine or beer?
Wine.
Don't drink.
Martini.
Okay, no more. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you all.
On that note, thank you so much to our final panel. Can I invite you for a photo right down the center, please? It's been a really powerful day, a fantastic day, I must say, here at the Singapore MICE Forum 2025. Jess has already alluded to it, beer or wine. Well, thank you so much for being with us the entire day. I know some of you have been here from the very start of our morning. And we've really kept the energy going throughout the day as well. And what a great panel to wrap up, full of laughter, full of real talk as they wave to the camera. And we will remember this for SMF 2025. Let's see if we make it. If we make a beach edition.